Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series on automobile engineering. Today we'll discuss about the automotive steering system. So before starting that, we must look over a powertrain of an automobile. Okay, so we can see the components of an automobile that include the entire engine system, that include the transmission system. So this has clutch here, gearbox, universal coupling, propeller shaft, other coupling, okay, then followed by this rear axle assembly, rear axles, wheels, and this is differential assembly. So this is basic automotive powertrain system. So these universal coupling plays a major role because they are transferring the power at some angle, or even they are transferring the power at some large distance. So these are basically used for transmitting the power or torque from one place to another inside a car or a truck. So the features of universal joint include like speed variation. They have to vary the speed as per the engine requirement or as per the vehicle requirement. So while operating at an angle, say sometimes it is possible that the rear wheels are at uh, at at different location as compared to the front wheels. So these universal joints speeds up and slow down twice per revolution. Joint facing may be another application of universal coupling or universal joint. So they are able to cause or to stop the vibrations caused by universal joint and are transmitted to other one. So that joint facing is being used. Cancelling angles are the features because the angle of the front U joint is offset by the rear one. This may be a possibility. So the correct angle must be maintained to minimize vibration. So the entire objective is to minimize the vibrations, cancelling the angles, and get the joint facing operation. So the purpose of the drive shaft that is being used in the automobiles is to transmit power from the transmission line to the differential assembly and then to the rear axle. So this drive shaft transmit the power from the gearbox to the differential assembly, and through this differential assembly we can transmit it to different wheels. So this allows the transmission and the rear axle assembly to be different heights. Okay. So this drive shaft is basically inclined. If we see the location of the drive shaft in a truck, so we can see that it's an inclined shaft. Okay, because it is not necessary that the height of this rear axle will be at the same height as compared to the engine. So engine may be located at higher height and this may be located at lower height. Okay, so there is an angular angular displacement. Okay, so this drive shaft allows the transmission and the rear axle assembly to be at different heights. So this allows the rear axle to move up and down while maintaining a connection to the transmission, and this basically purpose is being served by the universal coupling. So we can employ a single universal coupling, we may use double universal coupling on this end and also on this end. Okay, so this is also fitted with a slip joint just to take care of the any extension in the propeller shaft, because while facing a bump or a jump, the vehicle may encounter the propeller shaft or the drive shaft may encounter a change in length. So that has to be taken care. So this change in length is being made clear by using a slip joint. So that slip joint is basically a joint consisting of a shaft. Like here we have a shaft, and the shaft has external spines and the hub has internal spines. So that makes a flexible joint. So this is also used. So now we'll start our today's topic, that is functions of steering system or basics of steering system. So as we know that the basic function of the steering system, steering basically steers the car. Okay, we have to drive it, we have to turn it, so we can use a steering system. So the basic function of the steering system is to control the front wheel, and sometimes in some cases we have four wheel steering, so that in that case we may control the rear wheels also. So another function served by steering system is transmit the road wheel. Okay, uh, that basically slide steering wheel pull caused by the road surface to the driver's hand. Okay. So that road feel must not be transmitted to the driver. Okay. So they ensure that the bumps coming inside the road or over the road must not be transmitted to the driver. So they also maintain correct amount of effort needed to turn the wheels, because if the effort required for turning the wheel is more, then it will be difficult for the driver to maintain that particular sort of uh, force. Okay, so the steering system must ensure that the driver has not to apply much force. Okay, so the steering system absorbs most of the shock going to the steering wheel as the tire hits holes or bumps in the road. So as I have told, there should not be any transmission of the jerk from the road to the driver. Otherwise, he may be feeling fatigueness. Okay. So this also allows for suspension action, because in case of suspension, we have to suspend, or uh, we have to sprung the some of the weights. So this also allows for suspension action. So talking about the front axle or dead axle, okay, dead axle is basically made of drop force steel, and that is used in heavy vehicles. And that dead axle consists of 0.4% carbon or 1.3% nickel. Okay, so that bears bending loads. That dead axle generally used in front side of the car, basically, that bears the bending loads, and that depends upon the section that we are using. Okay, that bears the bending load due to vehicle weight, and torque loads due to braking. Okay, torque load is also applied by these propeller shafts, which transmit power from the engine to the rear wheels. So that's why, to take care of that load, that is bending load and torque loads, I sections are generally used at center to bear these loads. Okay, and circular or elliptical sections at the ends are used. So this stub axle, basically a rigid axle, consists of 3% nickel steel and alloy steel that have chromium and molybdenum. Modern cars uses kingpin. Uh, Initially, we were using kingpin. Now these modern cars uses ball joint instead of kingpins. Okay, these are more flexible, and these are having more life as compared to the kingpin. So the wearing of the ball joints is less. Okay, they may be lubricated by using suitable grease, and so the modern cars uses ball joints. Okay, and the angular transmission at different angle is possible using these ball joints. So talking about the steering linkage, that is about the steering rigid axle suspension. So we'll first see the components of the steering system. So, so starting from here, we can see here there is a stub axle on which our rear wheels, on which our front wheels are fitted. Okay, so this is our axle beam. Okay, and this is a sort of a rigid axle because this has no flexibility. Steering arm kingpin is fitted over here. So stub axle is being fitted with the, or connected with the rear front wheel by using a kingpin. Okay, ball joints are there, as I have talked about ball joints. So these are basically preferred. This is track rod or tie rod. Okay, this is adjuster. We can adjust the length of this track rod. Okay, so as we can see, this can move, this can translate in both the directions. Okay, this is track rod joint. Okay, that's the sort of ball joint. Track rod arm, this is track rod arm. Okay, this link is the link rod, or known as drag link, and this is ball joint for drag link. This is known as drop arm or pitman arm. This is steering gearbox. We'll discuss about steering gearbox. Then the steering column or drive shaft, and steering wheel. So how the power will be, how the motion will be transmitted? Here the driver is sitting. Okay, he will be turning the wheel, steering wheel. When the driver turns the steering wheel, this motion is transmitted to this gearbox. This gearbox then converts that motion into this oscillatory motion of the drop arm, and this motion using the link rod is being transmitted to the track rod, steering arm, and track rod, and through track rod this is being transmitted to the this tie rod, and using tie rod and track rod, the stub axle is being turned as per the requirement. Okay, so steering linkage depends upon the type of the vehicle, whether it is a car which is independent front suspension or a commercial vehicle having a generally a rigid axle type of suspension. Okay, so we can see here the drop arm, which is also called as pitman arm, is rigidly connected to the cross shaft of the steering gear at its upper end. Okay, we can see here in this figure, while its lower end is connected to the link rod through a ball, okay, or a ball joint. Okay, we can see here to the other end of the link rod is connected the link rod arm. Okay, we can see here in this figure a ball joint. Ball joint is connected to the other end. Attached rigidly to the other end of the link rod arm is the stub axle on which the road wheels are mounted. Each stub axle has a forged track rod arm rigidly bolted to the wheel axis. So we can see here. Okay. So the other ends of the track arm rods are connected to the track rod by means of ball joints. Okay. So the steering gear provides the mechanical advantage. Here we can see the steering gear, location of the steering gear that provides a mechanical advantage. What's the benefit? So it serves the purpose that only a small effort is required at the steering wheel to apply a much large force to the steering linkage. So this purpose is being basically served by the steering gearbox. In addition to this, it is also provided or provide it also provides the direction or the desired velocity ratio so that much smaller movement of the stub axle is obtained with large angular movement of the steering wheel. So this also gives a desired velocity, right? So that depends upon the steering ratio that we are maintaining. We'll discuss about the steering ratio also in upcoming slides. So when the wheel is turned, the swinging action of the drop arm, when we are turning this wheel, this will swing. This will impart a near linear movement to the link rod. Okay, this will be linearly moved. Then this movement is transmitted through the link rod arm to the stub axle so as to turn the later about its pivot, which may be a kingpin or a ball joint. Okay, so this linear motion is transmitted to this particular stub axle and then to the wheels. Okay, so the other wheel is steered through the track rod. So we are steering this one only. So this will be steered through this track rod. Okay. So this is the mechanism through which the steering is being controlled. So now looking after this steering linkage for independent suspension, rigid axle suspension second type, we can also see various elements here: steering wheel, steering column, steering gearbox, drop arm or pitman arm, drag link. Okay, this is front axle, track rod or tie rod. This is adjuster for adjusting the length. This is front side of the car. This is another track rod arm. Two arms are there. They are joined by means of ball joints. And this is stub axle. Okay, on which the through bearings the wheels are mounted. And here also we have mounted the wheels. So this is another example. Now, if we talk about the car suspension or independent front suspension. So why independent? Because in case of a bump on one side of the car, it will not be transmitted to the other side. Okay, so the entire vehicle will not be disturbed. So that is the concept of a independent suspension system. So, so in case of conventional rigid axle suspension, we have seen that the main axle beams ensures the movement of the stub axle in the horizontal plane only. So in this, there is no vertical direction of the suspension and hence there is no change in effective track rod length. So because we have independently fitted these two elements, so there is no need to change the length of the track rod. Okay. So this is the benefit of using the independent front suspension linkage. So in case of independent suspension, the two stub axles can move up or down. Okay, so these are independent of each other. Okay, so due to this movement, the distance between ball joint ends of the two track rod arms is continuously varying. Okay, so to Due to this, a single track rod is, as in conventional system, cannot be used. So we have to use two tie rods here. As we can see, there are two tie rods using ball joints. Okay. So, but remaining elements are similar to that whatever we have discussed before that. Okay. So coming to the steering system, while turning the car, front wheels don't point the same direction because they are at different angles. And to ensure that, so while turning a car, we must see that uh, the rotatory motion is along this direction, or rolling velocity is along the axis of the tire, and translational velocity may be different. If they are not aligned, then what will happen? There may be some skidding of the tires. So this will wear the tire. So So to achieve this, we must ensure that while turning the car, the all the wheels must turn about a common center, that is center of turning circle or instantaneous center of rotation. Okay. So to achieve this condition, the rolling component of the velocity must be in line with the translational component so that skidding can be avoided. Okay. So inside wheel turns at smaller radius, hence the inside wheel turns at a steeper angle than the outside wheels, as we can see from this image. So this is the front side of the car, this is rear side of the car. So while taking a turn, the inner wheel has to turn a smaller radius and the outer wheel has to turn a steeper angle. So now talking about the basic components that we have seen, the linkage steering system consisting of worm gear or recirculating ball type gearbox is shown here in this figure. So all components are shown that we have discussed: Pitman arm, tie rod, track rod. Okay, and this is a recirculating type gearbox. We'll discuss about this gearbox in brief in coming slides. So linkage steering system parts consist of a steering wheel that we have seen, that is the wheel that is being turned by the driver. Okay, to rotate the steering shaft that is fitted in just below this. Okay, so steering shaft, you can see here, this is the steering shaft just fitted inside the dashboard part of the car. Okay, so what's the function that basically transfers the turning motion from the steering wheel to the steering gearbox? Steering column, so we can see that supports the steering shaft. Okay, so this steering shaft is fitted inside the steering column. This column is supported in the car. Okay, so this shaft is supported in the steering column by using suitable bearings or fittings. So we can see here the steering column, in which is the wheel. Okay, the steering column assembly through which it is bolted over the car's dashboard. Then steering column, this is the steering column. Then third one is the steering shaft. Then here is the universal joint. Okay, to provide a flexibility of shifting this entire system up and down, because they may be able to transmit power at some angle also. And this is the power assisted steering system. So now talking about the steering gearboxes. So we have with us the steering gearbox that is very common, that is known as worm and wheel type steering gearbox. So in this case, we'll see the components first. This is steering wheel. This is the steering wheel. This rod is connected to the steering wheel. That wheel is turned. This rod is turned. The turning of the rod in turn causes this worm to turn. Okay, and this is the wheel consisting of some gearing system over it. So when we turn the worm, this wheel will also rotate, and the rotation of the wheel will cause this drop arm or pitman arm to oscillate. Okay, this will shift its position here and here. So as we have seen in the steering linkage system, the movement of the pitman arm causes the linear motion of the some track rods, tie rods, or link rods. So this will be transmitted to the wheels. Okay, so movement of the steering wheels turn the worm, as we have seen, which drives the worm wheel. So drop arm is basically, or pitman arm is attached to the spindle. So rotation of the steering wheel causes linear motion of drop arm. Okay, so this is a very common type of steering gearbox. So in some cases, in case of worm wheel, only a sector can also be employed. But the complete wheel has an advantage over the later, that in case backlash due to wearing out of the teeth of the worm, and worm wheel can be easily adjusted. Okay. For this purpose, the worm wheel is mounted over the eccentric bush. When the teeth have worn out, the problem is how to bring the worm and the worm wheel to be lubricated is has to be taken care of. Okay. So this is preferable unit because the wearing in this case will be less. If we only use a sector here, then there are possibility that it may worn out at rapid rate. Now we'll talk about the worm and nut type. So that is also a simple uh, gearbox. Okay. So the steering wheel rotation rotates the worm, which in turn moves the nut along its length. Okay, this is simple like nut and bolt assembly. So the steering wheel is turned, this column, uh, this steering shaft have some worms over it and nut. So this is like nut and bolt assembly. When we turn the steering column, this nut will climb up or will come down. Okay. So the movement of this nut is connected through a cross shaft to the drop arm. So this will oscillate the drop arm. So ultimately we can say that movement of the steering wheels turn the worm, which in turn moves the nut along its length. Okay, this causes drop arm to move linearly. Right. So another type of gearing box is the recirculating ball type gearbox that is used in Tata Dodge for Fargo Standard 20 vehicles. Okay. So in this case, we can see that recirculating ball. The ball basically reduces the friction. This sort of balls we have seen inside the bicycles. Okay. So these balls are fitted. So these are basically friction reducing devices. So we can see here inside the nut bolt assembly we have fitted the balls to reduce the friction. So wearing will be less. And these are recirculated. They are in motion, continuous motion. They are transmitted. They are entering from one end, moving and coming out of the other end. So a nut is mounted on the worm with two sets of balls in the groups of the worm, in between the worm and the nut. So this ultimately reduces the friction between two components and the that causes less wear of the components. Okay, so that is a nice idea to use the balls inside the nut and worm assembly. So the basic steering shaft is here. So this is ball nut. Okay, nut, it is climbing up and down, but the climbing motion is basically simplified or made friction free using these balls. Rather we can say less friction. Okay, so these recirculating in nature, they are connected like this. Okay, this housing is closed, so they are entering inside this system. They are passing and then coming back to again this position and then recirculated again. That's why these are called recirculating ball type steering system. So we can also see from this image about the recirculating ball type of steering system. Okay, so these are the housing in which the recirculating balls are fitted, and as I have told you, ball guide. So these are in motion, so they will move and will come through this guide, ball guide, and then will again enter this. So this simplifies the movement and reduces the friction to a greater extent. So these may be used commonly in many vehicles. So now talking about the steering ratio. So that steering ratio is a measurement of how many turns of the steering wheel it takes to go from full lock to the other full lock. So while turning the wheel, we must encounter a condition in which the driver feels that the steering is locked on the left side, and after turning full, it may feel that the turning is locked on the right side. So basically, how many turns from all the way left to the all the way right is important to know. Okay, so this also measured from the center state of a full lock turn. So fast ratio is 3 turns lock to lock. Okay, it means that if you put a mark on the steering wheel and turn it on the right side, it will take 3 turns to complete its locking position or to return to its locking position. So fast ratio is 3, slow ratio is about 4 to 5 times. That means To turn fully on the left side or right side, the driver has to turn the entire wheel for 4 to 5 times. So 15:1 ratio, wheels move 15 degree for 1 degree of steering wheel movement. So this is the steering ratio basically. If we can measure the angle of the wheel, so wheel moves 15 degree for 1 degree steering wheel movement. Okay, we can calculate using this movement. Okay, yeah, how many turns are there and what is the movement of the steering wheel. So by this way we can compute the steering ratio. That means ultimately we want to know how many turns are required to move move by 1 degree of the steering system. Okay. So another type of steering gearbox is rack and pinion type of steering gearbox that is commonly used, very simple in construction, and most of the Maruti cars are fitted with this type of rack and pinion steering gearbox system. Okay, so the entire component system is similar, like tie rods, rack, pinion. Okay, these are similar, and we have steering column, steering shaft. Entire system is similar. Rather, we have a rack here that is basically an a gearbox with infinite radius. Okay, and gear with infinite radius and a pinion, small pinion. So this pinion rotates and the rack translates. So this motion is being transmitted to the tie rods through tie rod joint. Okay, and then ultimately to the stub axle. This is fitted to the stub axle, through which the stub axle is connected to the wheels. Okay, so this motion is transmitted. Okay, so in this image we can also see the rack and pinion type of gearbox. So this type of steering gear is used on light vehicles like cars and in power steering. So Maruti 800 cars employs steering gear. It is simple, light and responsive. It occupies small space and uses less number of linkages for its construction. Okay. So in this we can see that the rotary motion of the steering wheel is transmitted to the pinion. Okay, this is the pinion. Okay, through universal joints. Okay, that we have seen in the steering linkage mechanism. So this pinion is in contact with the rack. So the circular motion of the pinion is transmitted into the linear rack movement, which is further relayed through the ball joints and tie rods to stub axle for the wheels to be steered. Okay, so this is the principle of the steering rack and pinion steering gearbox. So summarize here, use the rack and pinion gear. This rack and pinion gearbox consists of a rack and pinion gear. The pinion meshes with the gear on end of the steering shaft. As the pinion rotates, as the gear rotates, pinion rotates and moves rack left or right, as we have seen in the figure. So, so this is the actual picture of a rack and pinion steering system. This consisting of a boot to cover it to prevent it from dust. Okay, so on these sides we have ball joints, so these are covered. Okay, and the rack and pinion assembly is fitted over here, and this is basically a power steering. We'll discuss about the power steering also. So power steering, what is the requirement? Large torque required by driver for steering of the medium and heavy vehicles, because in case of trucks the driver has to put a lot of effort to turn the wheel. Okay, because it is very hard steering basically. So what to do? Power steering provides automatic hydraulic assistance to the turning effort applied to the manual steering system. So the driver has to apply less effort to turn the vehicle right or left. Okay, so that is being basically assisted by a system which may be hydraulic in nature, and that is known as power steering. So power action comes in picture after effort requirement on steering wheel exceeds a particular value, say around 10 Newton, the maximum force that can be applied by a human hand. So when the requirement of the force is more than 10 Newton, it will be difficult for the driver to turn the vehicle. Okay, and he will feel fatigueness after a very small drive. After few kilometers, he will be feeling restless or fatigue. Okay, so to avoid this, we must be assisting his hands with some inbuilt power steering system. So in case of failure, driver can manually steer the vehicle. This has a flexibility. If there is a leakage in the power steering system, then it will not work. So entire effort is to be applied by the driver, but this is the case of emergency, when the power steering fails due to any reason, due to some accident, due to some leakage. Okay. So on this discussion, we can say that power steering is basically operated by fluid under pressure. So we must be using a fluid, a pump to pressurize the fluid, and that pressure is basically used to steer the vehicle. So the pump consists of the pump is being operated by some fluid which is having a viscosity of SAE 5W or 10W or higher at atmospheric conditions. So ultimately, to conclude with the power steering, the slight movement of steering wheel operates a valve. Okay, how it works basically, the when the driver turns the steering wheel to a very few degree, then a valve is being operated. Okay, so the fluid under pressure from the reservoir enters to the appropriate side of the cylinder. Basically, this is a piston cylinder assembly in which high pressure fluid is being acted, and this starts acting by operating a valve, and the valve will be operated by the effort of the driver. When he starts turning the wheel on slightly left or slightly right, this valve will be operative, and the fluid will move on to the appropriate direction. Okay, so this motion of the high pressure fluid operate the steering linkage, which steers the wheel in appropriate direction as per the requirement of the driver or the car. So this power steering normally use an engine driven pump and a hydraulic system to assist the steering action, as we have discussed. Three major types of power steering systems are used, that is integral piston linkage system, external power steering system, and rack and pinion system. So this is most common and simple in construction. So we can see here various components of the power steering consisting of reservoir, consisting of pump. This is the reservoir for storing the fluid that we have discussed, SAE 10W or 5W. Okay, so and other components are, these are pipings for supplying the fluid from the system to the hydraulic cylinder. Okay, and this is the entire system, steering system, that we have discussed earlier. So integral power piston, external power pistons may also be used. Integral rack and pinion system, as I have told, is the most common system. Okay, so we can see the power steering pump, that is simply a pump handling the fluid that is having a viscosity of 5W or 10W proposed by SAE. So this power steering pump is basically driven by the engine that produces the hydraulic pressure for steering system operation. Okay, so the pumps that are commonly used may be roller pump, vane pump, slipper pump, or gear pump. Okay, so these types of pumps may be used for power steering purpose. Okay, so we can see from this example the basic rack and pinion steering for power steering consists of this cylinder. Now see this rack, this piston. Oh, this is inbuilt with that rack only. Okay, and this is pinion. So now see the movement. Other components are steering column. Here we have the steering wheel. This is a reservoir that comes from the pump. High pressure fluid comes from the pump to this side. Okay, while turning this, the fluid pressure is being acted over by turning left or right. Okay, when this valve will be opened, we have a high pressure fluid. Okay, say the driver is turning it to such side where this port will be open. While opening this port, the high pressure fluid enters inside this system, and this will push the piston to move on the left side. Okay, so this will enable the driver to apply less effort, because the entire 90% effort is being applied by this high pressure fluid. So this high pressure fluid will act and move the piston to left side. So this movement will enable the steering wheel to operate on this side without applying much effort, and vice versa. When this valve will be closed, the fluid, the pressure, the pressure from the pump is applied over this side, and this fluid pressure will be acted on the left side of the piston, and this will move the piston to right side. So this is the entire motion of the power steering system. Okay, So that is basically a hydraulic cylinder. Okay, hydraulic cylinder and piston assembly. So we'll watch a video here and we'll understand the principle of operation of the entire linkage steering system and the power steering system. This is being adopted from YouTube source and that is only for demonstration purpose.